So this is a Last of Us dedicated podcast episode. Here's the point. Joel's death. This is where we're at. It was very mid.
Then they brought out the TV series. So
Whoa.
Am I skipping too far?
Yeah, see, you're doing what the show did. All right, let's get into it. Welcome to another episode of Where's My Coffee podcast. I'm Perris.
I'm Georgia, and this is episode 21.
Episode 21.
You know how we had that thing where I would say something like routine after? Mm-hmm. You're now officially saying a routine of repetition.
What's my repetition?
You always just repeat what episode it is after I've just said it.
Okay.
What was my thing that I kept saying?
You would be like, can you believe it?
Can you believe it? That's right. Yeah.
Now
that we switched up a little bit.
Now it's on me.
Now you're repeating.
Yeah.
It's okay. It is what it is. So, we have a lot to talk about. And this may not be for everyone.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about it.
Spoiler alert.
Massive spoiler alert. I would say if
Disclaimer.
you haven't seen The Last of Us Season 2, episodes 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Turn off. Come back later. Catch up. Mm-hmm. Because we are going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we don't want to spoil things. And we don't want to put impressions on people if they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So this is a Last of Us dedicated podcast episode.
Yes. We don't usually do this. Normally we have a little bit of topics here and there. But we just watched episode 5.
Yeah.
And we find ourselves constantly having like debates and conversations.
After every episode.
So it's just like.
And she's always like,
we have so much
save
to
it
talk
for the
about.
pod. Save it for the pod.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do an episode.
Yeah.
Where we talk about it all. We're probably about halfway through the season now. Well, part 1 of the season now.
Yeah. Which is.
And so, yeah, let's talk about it. Hopefully we have enough people that are interested.
Yeah. I mean.
And if you're not, go watch it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then come back to this episode. And,
it's a great story. It's a great story. If you know about The Last of Us, you will concur that this story is probably one of the best stories ever told.
That feels dramatic, but
give me a better story, front to back, character wise, character arc wise, character development wise, conflict wise.
Oh my gosh.
No, seriously, like
I
dilemma wise.
I hear you. Mm-hmm. If I was to really think about it, I probably
could
find
okay, yes. Story is a stretch because there's many stories that have been told.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, Noah's Ark is one of them. So I'm just saying, so that's a great story as well. So to say like, great story,
I would just say like it's good.
Yeah,
for a game, I think this is the thing.
One of the greatest games ever created.
For a game, it's a great storyline, and so much so that with The Last of Us, Perris playing the game, I never played it, but I caught myself always wanting to watch it because of the story.
And that's my thing too. In as far as it being a game, it is the greatest story game-wise ever told.
Sure.
For a game.
Red Dead Redemption?
No. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Red Dead is a great game. 2019. Last of Us Part 2 came out. Mm-hmm. This was it was right before COVID, wasn't it?
I have no idea. Would have been 2019, yeah, right before it started.
And
that's why you got so into it, because you were able to watch so many streamers playing it.
Yeah, because I think why didn't I get the game? Oh, we didn't have the console. Have PlayStation.
Yeah.
I didn't have PlayStation because what happened was I had a PlayStation 4. Mm-hmm. No. I had PlayStation 3. No, I'm sorry. My friend back in college let me use his PlayStation 3, and that's how I was able to play the first installment.
But then the 2 was put on one of the newer ones.
Then part 2 was put on
the
4. Mm-hmm. I no longer had the 4. Mm-hmm. No, that's what it was. Sorry, y'all. My friend Nasheed let me use his PlayStation 4, and I think he had The Last of Us.
Yeah.
So I was playing The Last of Us. But when 2 came out in 2019, you know, it's a Sony PlayStation exclusive game. I only had Xbox at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, I can't drop all this money to buy a PS5.
Right. Right in COVID. We have no idea what's going on. I'm basically...
Well, this is in 2019. Because I had bought the Xbox the year before, and you were like, dude, we're not buying another console.
Oh, you're so right, because we bought the newest Xbox at the time in Black Friday.
Yeah.
And you were so close to getting the PlayStation at that point, but you didn't.
I could have just waited, because the following year, Last of Us 2 comes out, and so, like you said, I had to watch gameplay for about a year.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I got into it, because we were watching the gameplay. Yeah. And it was a great story. And we found this guy that was really funny, and he had this little tagline called, let's get this.
I think it's the Rad Brad or something like that.
I don't know. Anyway, so he was good. And yeah, it was just like good vibes all around. And then they brought out the TV series. So Whoa, am I skipping too far?
Yeah, you're doing what the show did. So yeah, I finally get the game. Finally get part 2. And I absolutely fall in love with this experience, with this game. I deem it as my favorite game of all time. I played part 1 and part 2. Part 2 is just a different experience. More kind of open world. It's less linear than part 1. A lot of dilemmas, a lot of new characters that you're introduced to.
A lot of controversy.
Yeah, there was a lot of controversy with the game. 1, because of Joel's death.
And then 2, playing Abby.
From
her point of view.
Yeah, from her point of view, who you think is the antagonist at first, because she is the cause of Joel's
The last thing you want to do is play the person that just killed Joel.
Yeah. And you know, I was talking to Zach today, and he said Ellie is his favorite character. So even when Joel died,
he didn't mind as much.
It was just like, oh, we're getting revenge. It wasn't like, oh my God, Joel's dead. It was just like, oh, we're getting revenge.
Yeah.
But he did say he was kind of pissed that he had to play as Abby. For me, when Joel died, it was like oh my God, they actually, they
killed the main person.
Yeah, they killed Joel. Like, you know what I mean? But when I played as Abby, I was open to, okay, there has to be a reason we're playing from her point of view, you know? And then when it tied together, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? I don't want to get too much into like past episode 5, because I do kind of forget what happens.
Oh yeah, no. We're not going to get past episode 5.
Yeah.
We're going to stay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you know, even Abby is my favorite game character. Just her story, and I don't know what the show or how the show is going to
depict that.
Yeah, so let's start from where you want to start from.
Yeah,
there's just so much that
I guess it's just like a quick summary. Season 1, like biggest complaint, or like best thing, biggest complaint, like best and worst thing from season 1. I think collectively we think season 1 didn't have enough infected action.
Yeah.
That would be like the overarching.
I think that's the overall consensus, maybe.
Yeah. Well, for us.
Yeah.
Best thing, I would say that for me, I did feel like I was walking into the video game with how identical some of the imagery was. I don't know if that was the best thing, but like that was a great thing.
Season 1?
For season 1, yeah.
Yeah.
And overall, they just like had a good flow of the story. I felt like if you hadn't played the game, you were able to like really get attached to these characters and like feel like just like get into it the same way.
Yeah. I think visually, like you just said, like
it was just beautiful.
They hit the nail on the head visually.
Casting.
I had no issues with casting.
Yeah.
I think what season 1 did that I did appreciate was they took some things that were alluded to in the game and gave it more light.
Enhanced it, yeah. Because in gameplay, sometimes it's not worth like traveling down that path of information. Yeah. Because it's like, otherwise the game will be like so many hours long. But for the reason of a TV series, you can kind of elaborate and like harp on certain points just because. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the character Bill.
Bill was the one that had his like house decked out to the nines.
Like he was
He was
ready for the apocalypse.
He was a quick one and in with the game. But for this, there was like a whole episode about it.
Yeah, in the game, they alluded to him having him being gay and him having a male lover. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the game, it was alluded to that. With the game had some. You could find like letters that you could pick up and read. Yeah. And his lover left him a suicide note.
Yeah, but it was all very surface level in the game, and
in the game, yeah. In the show, we
got the whole thing.
Are introduced to his lover.
That was a really sad.
Yeah, it was. It was, and it was like a 2 or 3 episodes dedicated to Bill.
I think 2.
So I mean, again, there were certain elements that I did appreciate that they put emphasis on.
And overall, just made us excited for season 2.
Yeah. So there was one thing that they did contrary to the game, which Zach and I did talk about: the cordyceps. So the cordyceps, we were calling them spores. We were just calling them spores. Mm-hmm. In the game, the spores, which is the virus that travels through air or in the air. It's like, what do they call it? Airborne or something like that?
Airborne, yeah.
So it's in the air, like and they look like little
fuzzy
part
things,
of floating around. And that's how people mainly got infected. If it wasn't through the biting or it was the spores. The season 1, they introduced a new concept, which was the cordyceps.
So that didn't exist at all.
Not at all. You could see the cordyceps in the game. Yeah. But they served no purpose other than.
They don't get people infected though, do they?
No.
They just like enhance what it was.
Wait, what are you saying?
The cordyceps.
In the show, yes, they can, because that's how
she got
Tez,
bit.
No, Tez. Remember where Tez, Joel, and Ellie?
Yeah, in that room.
Yeah, and
it comes out of her mouth.
It comes out of his mouth. The cordyceps comes out of his mouth and transfers into her. They call.
But wasn't she gonna die? Oh, she was gonna. She was gonna be infected anyway because she was bit.
Yeah. So
I see. Okay, I'm following.
Yes, but served. The concept is so genius because it serves as
another layer almost.
It's the spine of the infected. So we could be in Midtown. We step on a cordyceps. Someone infected in Buckhead
will come running.
Will come straight to us because it's a
connection.
Yeah, it's a connection, which was so fire. Yeah, which then foreshadows to
what happens in
season 2.
So season 2, when you have like an expectation, and sometimes you overhype something, and then you get to it, and you're like, "Ooh, is that living up to it?" I think that's what you're experiencing for season 2. Am I putting too many words in your mouth there?
No, there is an expectation. But let's dive into it because it's not just as simple as, oh, I have too much high expectations. This, like I said, this story is the expectation. Like, you know what I mean? And
right.
We were the Last of Us cultists, as people would say.
Cult is a great word for it.
That I am proudly to be a part of.
Yeah, Perris is a part of the cult. I am not so much. I'm like I dabble. I observe from a distance.
You honestly, I'm gonna be honest. You lean more so
average viewer.
The new viewer.
The average. Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. Just because I haven't created such an attachment to the game like you have. Right. So what I'm expecting is very not different, but just like more open.
What are you experiencing? Because I don't want this whole episode to be about what I.
No, you're fine. I would say overall, I'm liking. There's some really good moments. There are some cringy moments, but overall, there are some really standout scenes that are just like visually, emotionally, just really great.
Emotionally, which ones are you referring to emotionally?
Something that not when I say emotionally, it doesn't have to be sad.
No, I know.
Okay, so the emotions that you feel when Jackson gets attacked by the infected.
Yeah.
That whole scene is insane because it's like,
Very.
oh my gosh, first of all, the way that they're throwing the fire over, I'm like, yo, you're about to burn down your wall if you don't throw it far enough. But anyway.
But it was fire the way they did
had
that,
it set
though.
up. Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
That whole thing, I would say Joel's death, I think we've spoken about this a little bit. Joel's death, I wish it was a little bit more gut-wrenching.
That's not what you said, my love.
Well, no. Like, it was intense, but I remember my tears were just like, they like happened and they didn't. Oh, wait, did they? No, I was bawling my eyes out.
No, you weren't.
Well, was I crying?
No.
I was crying.
Really?
Yeah. No, I was crying.
Okay.
You weren't crying.
No, I wasn't.
And I was like, is he okay? Like, this is so sad right now. Yeah.
Can I answer to that?
Yeah.
So, here's the point. Joel's death. This is where we're at. It was very mid.
Yeah.
Before I say that, I want to say I've seen Joel's death about 1 million times because I played the game millions of times. So, at this point, I'm kind of immune to it.
Yeah. So you weren't necessarily going to have an emotional reaction.
No, not really. But
you may have, though, if it was done to your satisfaction.
If it was done, what it was lacking was the emotional weight.
Okay.
There was no emotional weight to it.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
In the game, in the show, it kind of was giving he had accepted it. In the game, not so much. Or is that wrong?
I like your observation. Yeah, it was kind of like he was accepting
it's like
it.
Almost like nonchalant that like he's literally like dying.
Yeah. He gets his leg blown off with a shotgun. Mm-hmm. And then in the next frame, he's laying there, but kind of looks like he's just chilling, looking at Abby.
So I remember you talking about that. For me, it's like one of those things, like when an injury like that happens so intensely, your adrenaline and like sometimes it gets to the point where you're just like not feeling pain anymore, especially if he's not moving.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never gotten shot in the leg before.
Here it comes.
Okay.
In the game.
Yeah. He's in agonizing pain. Screaming.
He's in agony.
Yeah.
But adrenaline has taken over to the point where he's able to have a conversation in the midst of feeling pain.
Yeah.
But in the show, it was just kind of almost like he had a stab wound and he's sitting there. He's not, his breathing pattern didn't even change.
So do you think that's a directing issue or an acting issue?
I think it's a direction. I think I think it's that. And I think it's a combination of acting choice. But Pedro is a heavyweight actor, so I mean, I'm not going to question his ability
or his choices.
You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like
you wanted more.
It's not me that wanted more. It's us.
The cultists.
It's us that wanted more. You know what I'm saying?
The game players wanted more.
The masterpiece. Compared to the masterpiece, this was lackluster. It lacked the emotional weight.
So it really had that much emotion in the game?
Georgia,
I don't remember crying.
After this, I'm going to show you the clip of it.
Okay.
And you will see the difference.
Okay.
But also,
that would be helpful. We should have watched that beforehand.
Maybe,
right.
Yeah. But like also, too, that's where the disconnect, there was a disconnect me as a viewer watching this. And I'm just like,
something's missing.
Something is missing. And it was the emotion, like it was Joel's emotions that just didn't feel. Abby was there. Abby was in it.
Yeah.
Like Abby, you know, her objective in that scene was to, you know, but in then the delivery of the line, he said, "Shut the F up and get it over with." Mm-hmm. I didn't like how that line was just a throwaway line. In the game, Abby is about to make the speech. Compared to the show, she actually made the speech. She actually did the speech. In the game, he says, "Yo, save whatever you about to say and get it over with." I at this point, just do what you gonna do.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm
saying?
saying?
To hear it. Yeah.
I don't need to hear it. And that was powerful. But in the show, she actually says this long ass speech, and then she goes to say something else, and he's like, "Shut the F up and get it over with." And it was just like, all right, bro. Like, okay, all right, you know. And then the next frame, he's brutally beaten, and I just felt even that. I did appreciate when Ellie did come storming in when she was telling him to get up.
Yeah, that was sad. That's when I started bawling.
He did attempt. He was lifting his head, and I was like, all right, I loved that.
At that point when she came in, that's when I started bawling my eyes out. And then I like literally like can't control myself, and I look over to Perris, and he's just like, I'm like, okay, am I missing something?
Bella thrives in those moments, and that's kind of why I'm just like a little, you know. But anyway, so that point, Joel's death was kind of mid to me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Something also that you mentioned, like as an overarching, before we get further into this each episode, is that you were stressed / the cult. I'll stop saying you because it's the cultists.
But just
you already know what I'm going to say, don't you?
What? No.
Oh, you're offended that I'm calling you a cultist?
The way you're saying it is just like, not. It's just put a little bit more respect.
So they were stressed about her not looking old enough.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. So that's like an overarching debate, would you say?
Yeah, I mean that's my
controversy.
That was my biggest thing, and I got into a debate with someone as well, and I said,
me.
No.
Oh.
It was someone else. I had said that like season 2, I hope they don't
move too quickly.
And I hope that they really take their time. I hope they don't rush, because Bella Ramsey still looks very young.
She's got a baby face, and I think that's the difference. She's got a baby face, but she doesn't look that young.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. She looks young.
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? Like us actors, we have age ranges that we can play.
Sure.
I knew when I got to a point where, all right, I can't play a
16-year-old
anymore. Because, you know, my features started to change. You know? Bella is...
She can play like a 14-year-old almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I loved her as a young Ellie, because she looked young.
Yeah.
And
but wouldn't it have been crazy to, like... So, okay.
Oh, I got you. Go ahead.
Would you say that then to fulfill the age growth of her maturing and becoming like a woman, they needed to cast a new person, or they needed to wait till she looked older to film the next season?
I think...
Do you know what I mean?
As crazy as this may sound, just wait until Bella...
But because of her baby face, I don't think a year or 2 is going to make her look that different.
All right, well, you got plenty of time. There's so much story that you can tell. And that was my biggest beef with season 2.
But the problem with this is this conversation that you're saying now, or this point that you're saying now, is I'm assuming they're only going to have season 1, season 2, because there's only part 1, part 2 of the game. Right?
Yeah.
So this is probably only going to be a 2-season series.
And that's a shame.
It is a shame, but that's just the direction they're going. But could they have extended this and like waited before they got to part 2? Probably.
Part 2 continuity? Yes.
Yeah, probably. Yes. But
absolutely.
They didn't. So now it's like, so do you expect, like the writers and whoever planned it have gone this direction. So for them to produce the next season, you're saying that they would have had to wait until she looked older before filming.
Whatever, just do it right.
But do you think they should have casted a different person to look older if they're doing it this way?
No disrespect to Bella, because you know I love Bella.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes to
make her look older,
make her look yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just yes.
What were the people saying? They wanted a different actor, or they wanted them to wait, or they were just complaining?
It's just the general consensus is that Bella just looks too young. It's not in to break it down even more, it's not about recasting her.
Okay.
It's just about working with what you have. Well, they are working with what they have, but also just not cutting corners when it comes to this.
You think they have?
Yes. I think they have. All right. I told you after episode 1.
Yeah.
I said, babe, some of these characters are looking older than the others. when they're supposed to be the same age or around the same age.
Yeah.
There was a character that Dina and Ellie were referring to that Ellie used to...
First time they encountered the stalkers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those people.
And homegirl looked like 25. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, this is all right. This is going to be an issue.
Feeling a little disconnected.
This is going to be an issue because Bella and Dina, or Ellie and Dina, look like children still.
Yeah.
They're both short.
Yeah.
They both have baby faces.
Yeah.
I can't, in my brain, I can't get out of my mind that they look like kids.
Yeah. Do you think makeup could have helped a little bit more?
No.
Yeah.
Makeup can only do so much, in my opinion.
You don't want it to look too much.
Yeah, you don't want to look too much. And also, to make someone look older, you trim their hair, right?
No, sometimes. Yeah.
Sometimes.
But wait, isn't in the game, doesn't she have short hair?
Yeah, she has, her hair is like here.
in the season she doesn't.
It's long.
It's like mid-length.
Yeah, and so
yeah,
I
maybe
said,
if they cut the hair and gave her more volume or something.
And I said, you know what, this is because what is happening is it's not making it believable that time has passed. It's a 5-year gap. No, a 5-year jump from season 1 to season 2.
What?
Yeah, see these, right. It's a 5-year jump.
I thought it was only like 5 months.
No, mama. This is a 5-year jump. She's supposed to be 21 years old in this moment right now.
21 years old.
20 to 21. Like, you know what I mean?
Whoa. Okay. I get it. Okay. I do get it. I do get it.
Look at her. Got her.
However.
Yeah.
For me personally, as your average Joe viewer with a little bit of history, well, that's what I'm going to label myself as.
Yeah.
Average Joe viewer, little bit of history. Her age and her look isn't pulling me away from the story. I tell you what is pulling me away from the story: the corny moments that they have.
Yes, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But no, let's take our time here. This is not, and that's the problem. That's the problem. What? Seriously.
It's getting real dramatic.
No, I'm just passionate about this. That's the issue.
Yeah.
There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
From the gamers with the direction that they're going, is there's no sign of growth or aging with these characters.
I can agree with that. I didn't realize it was 5 years. I can agree with that.
So when you show, all right, go ahead.
No, you go.
Go ahead. The corny moments. I like where you're going. Corny moments. Because I think what I was about to say.
Wait, what did you say?
The corny moments about.
Oh, the corny moments. Yeah. For example, corny moments for me would definitely be her saying, "I'm going to be a dad."
You're moving too fast. Let's go back.
Why?
Oh, the dad?
Yeah.
The pregnancy thing?
Yeah.
All right. That's definitely one of them.
Also, I would say this is probably the most corniest part. There was another corny part from the most recent episode that I was like, we looked at each other and we're like, what? What was it? I think she said something about being a dad again or something. It was all revolves around the pregnancy.
It was the one where Dina was like, and I love you, and I don't da-da-da-da-da. And Ellie goes, did you say you love me?
Oh, yeah.
Like, girls, there's stalkers right there.
Yeah.
And y'all, like, and this is what you guys are.
Yeah.
See,
it's like, it takes out, yeah.
Ellie.
And yeah, we're all here for, that.
Of course.
But at the same time, it's just like, let's not make it so, like, it was corny.
Oh,
it
the
felt
corny.
Forced.
Yes, the corny part was in the theater.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And then.
That was the biggest thing. Okay, so we had a big debate about this.
Yeah, we did.
Because, well, not a debate, just like a discussion. Because obviously, not to my knowledge, but the way that whole episode was done was so backwards. From the Seraphites to the way the pregnancy was announced, there was just a lot of different things from the game. Mm-hmm. I didn't personally notice or care or feel it was bad. The only thing that I was like, why did they do that? Is because the order of operation is they have just ran away from a massive, was that the train?
Subway.
Scene? Yeah, the subway. They ran away from the subway scene.
Massive horde.
Chaos of people, of infected.
Yeah.
And also the soldiers too.
Yeah. Wolf.
So very intense scene. They go into the theater. They're in the theater. She finds out she's bit. and she's trying, Ellie this is.
Yeah.
Ellie finds out.
Dina finds out that
Ellie's bit.
Yeah.
And Ellie's trying to convince her that she's
immune.
immune. And that scene was fabulous.
Yeah.
The way that Dina had the gun up to her, all that stuff, right? Fast forward the night, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, once it was established that she is immune, she puts her gun down, says, I'm pregnant, and then they sleep together.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Which totally took us out of the moment.
It was just so crazy. And then it was just like one of those things where it's like, that could have gone... Like, those individual things could have happened. Mm-hmm. But I think the pregnancy conversation should have almost happened after.
The day after, yeah.
The day after, in the morning, after they had sex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, don't get me wrong, maybe a little weird as well. But at the same time, it was like... They were saying that it was like, oh my gosh, such a relief that like you're not infected.
Dina said, because Ellie said, why are you telling me now?
Yeah.
And Dina said, I thought I lost you.
Yeah, but it was like, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like forced.
Yeah, and I felt that way too. And when you said it was almost as if they should have written it where she tells Ellie she's pregnant the day after, I thought that was perfect. That would have been perfect because in the game, Ellie is actually very disappointed to hear that Dina's pregnant. Mm. So if in the show she told her the day after, that would have motivated Ellie's feelings of being like, wait, we just had this moment together and now you're telling me you're pregnant? Right. You know what I mean? So they
made it a little too kumbaya sort of feeling.
It was just too much. It was just throwing it in our faces and we're like, whoa, we're not even ready to like, and for me, again, going back to how I'm visualizing these characters now is just like they're two best friends just going hiking. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's Ellie, her objective isn't clear right now. Mm. It's like the death of Joel isn't fueling her enough. Mm-hmm. Like we didn't see the fire, sparked in her. In the game, she doesn't care if Dina joins her on this quest. She's going. Yeah. I'm going to get revenge. I don't care I don't need a town hall meeting. Mm-hmm. I don't need to talk to Dina about it.
Okay, so we spoke about this in the town hall meeting situation. So you when you said that comment, I actually liked that the town hall existed because I do feel like the show has brought in the community of Jackson more than what it is in the game.
What was the point if all of them voted no?
Just to show the overall vibe and what they're all about. And like the priorities of like, hey, we would love to get revenge, but are we really going to send all our best people to potentially then also get killed? Yeah. Like, let's think about the better of the masses, not just over one single. Let's mourn,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
for sure.
It kind of like allowed the community at Jackson to show that they're like, they have a bigger picture. Yeah. And it's survival.
I think.
Not revenge.
The common denominator is that there's too much disconnect for me. When this season started, it started with the tension between Joel and Ellie.
What do you mean disconnect? Disconnect from the game?
No, I'm disconnected from the story.
Oh, you personally are disconnected.
Because where they started, season 2, they started with Ellie and Joel just having tension. Mm. I know why they have tension. Mm-hmm. You and the TV viewers don't really know. Yeah. And it wasn't, you guys didn't have the opportunity to see why there's tension.
Yeah. I would say the episode where he brings up in therapy, that's when it starts to like unravel that like that's the reason because he saved her. Yeah, yeah. And you'll see why they have tension. Maybe I'm wrong in that sense. I just there wasn't. I feel like it would drag out it would drag it out too much if we see too much of that though. Now that I think about it.
Well, they're going to show it to you anyway in flashbacks.
Like I think so. Fun fact for us is. People who in our circle who are watching it, well, some of them. Perris is a diehard fan of the game. Cultist is what we're calling them. I'm a average viewer with some history. And then I have my mum who is has no idea what the game is about.
Yeah.
She just started watching it to watch it. And I keep up to date with her thoughts, opinions, and how she's liking it. And she's loving it.
Yeah.
And like, it's just interesting because it's like, there's such mixed reviews, warranted, right? But I think there are a lot of people who are loving it for what it is now.
Yeah.
And you made a point from the most recent episode of saying, I think I'm just going to have to come to the conclusion or accept that this is going a different direction than the game.
Yeah. I'm going to have to accept that.
Yeah.
I just feel like this was a gift to everyone else. No, I'm not even trying to be
so
funny.
Honored.
I'm not. You got like it. You should, because now everyone has access to this masterpiece and story. Mm-hmm. We didn't ask for a TV show,
but I'm grateful for it because it's a great show.
I didn't say we, not as in you and everyone else. We, as in the game fans, didn't ask for a TV show.
Yeah.
So because we got one, it's like
there
is a bar that needs to be met. Because
you don't think they're meeting the bar at all?
Bruh,
See, I feel like that's dramatically...
All right. No, all right, see, okay. All right. Now I'm going to be extra passionate. Ellie.
Yeah.
Ellie is being portrayed in this new season as clueless, inexperienced, kind of like Dina has her by the coattail and dragging her along. In my opinion. Let me hold on. Let me land. And there's too much exposition going on with Dina. And the fact that
she's got too much light on
there's
her.
just yes. And honestly, we
breathe. It's okay.
When they introduced Dina in season 2
of the show,
and introduced the idea that her and Joel also had a close dynamic, and as the season progressed, that is deflating Ellie and Joel's.
Like, it's almost overpowering.
Yeah, because Dina has so much. Like I told you, I was like, it seems like she's the lead
she's
character.
Got like a little bit more. The way that she's been portrayed is a little bit more, almost like confidence and like level-headed.
Very confident, and she has more expertise than Ellie.
Yeah, I do agree that Ellie's coming across a little bit clueless, but I will say I don't think she's coming across that she's what is the word? Inexperienced, because like the scene, I know that there's controversy on this too, but the scene where she jumps and like attacks all the the people, like she is giving.
That happened once, babe.
She is giving skill though. How she got the stalkers. No,
she's using her immunity. It seems like she's using her immunity as like her weapon.
Why would you not?
Because that like Ellie is trying to hide that.
Yeah. What's it?
Go ahead.
You finish your thought.
It's just like,
I don't want to make you mad.
No, I'm not mad.
Oh.
It's just I told you I'm getting extra passionate now. Why does Dina have the ability to
dictate?
No. The listening. She's able to do like the heightened hearing.
I have a rebuttal for that. I think
there's no rebuttal. Why does she know how to do that, but Ellie doesn't? Ellie was a Fedra baby.
Yeah. Wait, but
no. Do you understand what I just said?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
What is Fedra?
Fedra is like the so-called of the soldiers, like the people before Wolf.
Right. So Ellie is born into that.
Yeah.
And is raised in that.
Yeah.
She's very smart. Mm-hmm. How does Dina have that ability, but Ellie doesn't?
I feel like because of Joel's death. This is. Let me cook here. Because of Joel's death. Mm-hmm. And the 5 year forward, she is now rebelling.
Rebelling what?
Rebelling in like doing what she knows to do, rebelling in like doing the right thing, just
Babe, what does that have to do with it? What are you saying?
She's like almost not taking the back seat, but she's portraying that she's let herself go.
So if you're taking the back seat, then you have what is your driving force?
Revenge. I just started.
So why are you taking the back seat?
Back seat in direction, not necessarily.
Girl, it was your idea to go.
Yeah, true.
You wanted to set on this mission of revenge. So to me, it's telling me if Dina didn't go with you, if Dina didn't go with you, you would have been lost.
Yeah, she would have been unprepared.
She was able to count how many infected was in the room.
Yeah.
She's telling you what. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
she's giving teacher's pet. Dina.
Well, Dina did have some.
Okay, so here's a hot take. Maybe not a hot take, but like a theory.
Yeah.
What happens? Okay, so when you play Ellie, you are the driving force to her actions and what she does and doesn't do. Am I right in saying that?
Okay.
Like gameplay wise.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing Ellie, it's you and your brain of how you want to go about the combat, the direction, where it is, right? Yeah. So
each character has special abilities and stuff like that. Right.
You never actually played Dina.
Because she wasn't an important piece.
Let me land.
Go ahead.
So what happens if the producer or the director, whoever's got that say, is basically taking a perspective of like, Dina is the brain of the player. Am I making sense or am I overcooking?
She wasn't the brain. She never served as the brain. She served as the nurturement for Ellie.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like, because clearly Ellie is Ellie, right?
Yeah.
But as a game player, you are Ellie. So it's your choices for X, Y, and Z. So that's like almost like they're trying to show that there is someone else deciding her movement. Because at the end of the day, it's not Ellie going through and you're just like there is something else, you, the player, that's moving Ellie through space.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happens if it's their abstract way of being like, hey, Ellie's decisions are always based on someone's actions telling her what to do. This being Dina. Am I overcooking?
Yes, you're overcooking. I'm sorry. I see what you're saying,
but
you're. I mean? I see, but you're overcooking.
It's a little abstract, but like, what if, you know?
Remember, Ellie was going to go regardless if Dina was there anyway.
No, I understand that. I'm more just thinking about it like an abstract way.
The thing that's killing me and keeps taking me out of the moments is they're turning this. Seems like they're about to turn this into a love story.
Yeah, and it is. They have all these like little cutesy moments.
Finding random ways to just. Guys, like we don't like the whole thing of they're again about to
die
and Dina mentions love and Ellie's like, wait,
you love me?
Ellie wasn't a soft ass. Ellie was a hard shell to crack. Ellie, one of the reasons why she was upset about Dina being pregnant is because she was coming to terms that she had feelings for Dina. And she was starting to open herself up. And then when I finally opened myself up, we're on this quest. You're there for me. I love you. Mm-hmm. And then you tell me you're pregnant. Now I'm closing back in. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? Back up. It wasn't let's throw these Kumbaya, pregnancy tests up in the air like confetti and I'm going to be a dad.
New looking pregnancy tests, like those
facts.
They look so new as well.
I'm going to be a dad.
Yeah.
So it's again my perception of them looking like children, then them doing adult like acts, and then them running up the stairs to the top roof like little kids and holding hands on the roof and saying we're going to. Like, no, can we please keep the integrity of these characters consistent? That's all I've ever asked.
Do you think the whole, like, love arc that they're kind of going in towards is almost for people who don't play the game? Like, they're catering to that world? We don't have to cater to nobody. This is an original story. Yeah.
We don't have to cater to anyone.
There's room for interpretation.
No, there's room for interpretation.
But how we are is giving you're not having room for interpretation.
Just it's okay. This is why I asked you what your favorite movie was or favorite musical was.
Yeah.
And you said Wicked.
Currently
Wicked.
Yeah.
Imagine if they take that story, okay, and another production house creates a film remaking it. And they have their own concepts and things like that. But it's totally like they make the Wicked Witch of the West. I forget her name. Alphaba. They make her purple instead of green.
Yeah.
And, you know, they make the other, what's her name? It's a guy's, what's? Galenda. They make her a man.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Those are very dramatic, though. I don't think the issues that are in
to us, some of these things are very dramatic.
Yes, yeah.
And it's taking me out of it. You know what I mean? It's just,
it's such a shame because for me personally, I am not a cultist.
Babe, yes, you're not a cultist. You're not a Last of Us cultist.
I'm not a Last of Us cultist. So I personally am really enjoying it from beginning to end. Obviously those corny moments, yes. But like beginning to end, like I'm really enjoying it. There are some great scenes, like the scene with the Seraphites, the two separate scenes.
That's
the
another
one
thing.
With what's the guy's name with the bald head guy?
Which one are you talking about?
The one that with the fry pan.
That
was stupid. Isaac. Just me say bald head man when the Seraphites are bald.
I was like, wait,
Isaac. When Isaac and the Seraphite are having that interaction and he's like burning. That scene was phenomenal.
I love that. Yeah,
that was a great scene. The most recent episode where they were all meeting with their flames, that was a great scene in the park. The cutting the guts open, like that was great.
Yeah.
There's been the subway scene, that was insane. That was good. To me personally, there are way too many good moments in this show, even season 2, where I don't look at this as like a flop. And I feel like you're looking at it as like a flop. You don't think it's a flop? Is that too dramatic?
It can't be a flop if the public.
Your personal opinion.
I don't know. The season's not over, and I told Zach, I said, we just gotta. We're not gonna quit. We're not quitting on it.
Just so everyone knows, Zach is equal parts to a game player of Last of Us, equal fan.
Zach.
So they've been conversing through this whole.
Yeah, Zach is one of my best friends, and Zach actually introduced me to the game. to the Last.
So there's equal love for the gameplay.
Yeah.
Just so we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Hence why they're discussing it the same.
As far as Ellie as well, I just feel like they're starting to miss the mark with what she represents and what type of character she is. Yes, she is a part of the LGBTQ community plus community, but she's a human being. Although we're celebrating that, we don't need to highlight. That's just who her character. That's a part of her character. It's not the highlight of who she is. So we don't need to spend time. She likes women. She likes women. Yes. That's who Ellie is.
Almost like
you know what I mean? It's
they're like, to be politically correct, they're enhancing how it's delivered rather than just accepting that this is a regular thing that can happen in someone's lives, and this is just should be viewed as normal.
Exactly.
But they're heightening. They're just the conversations
just a little bit too and as far as Dina, I just felt like there was too much exposition of why she also liked women. It's like, cool, but we don't need a whole expert of why, because this isn't about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I just feel like Ellie, the portrayal of her right now, the driving force isn't there.
Force being revenge for Joel.
It's too, like, she's even
almost
how
too
she
playful
looks
a little bit.
Bingo. It's There's
can
a
see
lot
that.
of playing around.
She's playful.
It's and
Her
and
like snarkiness.
she's too snarky. She's too playful. There's too much bubbly joking around.
Yeah.
And then it's all of a sudden like
serious. Yeah.
it's like no. Keep that.
What are your thoughts on her going into Wolf's territory and officially
That happened
interacting?
So Dina again. Zach said this. Dina gets hit in the leg with a bow and arrow.
Yeah. He gets carried away.
And then that's when it clicked to her like, oh, I'm on a mission.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it was necessarily that. I think it was she saw the door to the hospital and she's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not Dina.
Yeah.
I don't think that the trigger was Dina getting the arrow.
No, yeah. What I'm saying, that influenced. That was
The trigger?
for me, her going in there, great. But even that, just chronologically, a lot of things are happening way too fast. The introduction of the Seraphites.
I thought it was okay.
It's not okay because we don't see them. We don't get to know them until we get to Abby's POV.
Yeah. But this brings me back to, are we just accepting that they're going a different direction? And is that, like, can that not be okay?
No.
Because in my mind, as a viewer that doesn't know the story, like, from the tip to top, like, bottom to top, like, in and out, right? I actually liked the way that the Seraphites were introduced. Mm-hmm. Because, I don't know when it happens or how it happens. I just know that they exist. Like, I only really know when Abby is with one of them. Like, that's what I remember, right? Yeah. So when the first time you see them and they're walking through the forest and they're kind of kumbaya energy.
That was dumb.
No, I thought it was...
you will never see Seraphites walking.
That's what I'm saying. You're seeing them walking and you're thinking, oh, who are these people? Not knowing what they're capable of or what their like background is, right? And then they all get killed. Okay, cool. Yeah, then we don't see them for a little bit. And then we see them with... What's his name again?
Who?
Isaac. Then we see
one of them.
We see one of them, Isaac, and then you're like, oh my gosh, okay, so they're being hunted, sort of vibes, right? So they're like the weaker ones, right? And then it slowly transfers into, wow, no, actually they're very smart and they have power, hence why that interaction happened the way it did, right? And then you see the scene where they're all hung on the roof and sliced.
Yeah.
From Ellie and Dina's point of view, they're probably like, oh my gosh, who did this? I have no idea. But for us as an audience, we're like, oh my gosh, we know who that is because they put the symbol on the wall. Yeah. So it's slowly alluding to these people are more vicious than they looked the first spotting of them. And then fast forward, you see them having their seance sort of energy thing.
They were just hanging up.
Yeah, and they visually see what they're capable of. I actually liked the progression of you learning about who they are and what they're capable of, because it started off as kumbaya to these people are actually kind of savages.
And that's it right there.
Why is that?
The Seraphites aren't kumbaya.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like I liked that it was almost like secretive, like you didn't know what to expect from them.
The most beautiful thing about the game too, right? And again, you don't see them until you play from Abby's POV. And Lev, who is a former Seraphite.
Oh, I didn't know she was a former. Okay. Anyway.
He.
Oh, sorry.
They were traveling from point A to point B. But they were traveling in a high altitude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He said, we never travel on the ground. That's how we get to where we are. We travel above. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They're they're like ninjas almost. They're very mystique. You know what I'm saying? So to see the Seraphites just gradually just walking down the street, on the street, you know what I'm saying? Like the essence. Like,
wait, but wasn't that like a flashback in the sense of like that's how they started? So what?
No, that was current.
Was it?
Yeah, that wasn't no flash.
Maybe that's maybe that was their way of showing why they've become the way that they are, because they've been hunted and there's a war between them.
No, the TV show introduced the Seraphites as prime Seraphites. This, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I just felt like, one, why are we even seeing them right now? What purpose do they serve in this point in time of the story? What purpose do they serve?
It just introduced that there was more to the country and what it's become, and how there's different groups.
Let's take our time. Like you just introduced the wolves. You know what I'm saying? And now you're jumping to the so you're jumping. It's just a lot. They're all over the place. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's all right. And then we get introduced full circle to the spores.
Yeah.
What did they say in season 1?
I forget.
Season 1, they were talking about how they went in the direction of the cordyceps because that was more convenient conceptually for the show and
at
how,
the time, yeah.
You know what I mean? So now y'all are introducing or bringing back spores.
But wouldn't you think that the spores are a progression of the infection?
Huh?
Like, wouldn't you think that like you know how the infected are getting smarter, they're getting bigger, they're getting blah blah blah. Wouldn't you just say that the spores are a progression or an evolution of the quadriceps? What is that word?
No.
No? Okay.
No, they're two different
Delivery methods.
They're two different
But
obstacles.
they both come from the mouth.
No, the spores are just it's in the air. It's pollution.
You saw it coming out of the mouth when they were sitting down.
Because what did they say? They
breathe in oxygen and they breathe out spores.
Yes.
Which means the spores are coming from the infected.
The infected have the cordyceps within them, whatever.
Okay.
Or they can.
Yeah.
They were hooked up. They
connected
were
to
the wall.
Yeah.
So they're you know what I'm saying? They're exhaling.
Yeah.
Spores.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, there's no evolution from the cordyceps to the spores. They're two different entities. The spores were the original thing.
So what you're saying that it's
if you said that you weren't using that element in the first season out of convenience or whatever that may be, you know what I'm saying, and you were using the cordyceps to connect all of the infected, you know what I'm saying? Just to go back to the spores in season 2, it's like,
when are the spores used in season 1, like in the gameplay? A lot?
The spores were inside of buildings
like
that
basement
were
levels.
Well, not even. It could be underground, or it could be like, it was like mostly underground, or if it was in a big building that was completely shut down and you know what I mean, infested and things like that.
Okay.
But like in the game, the spores were the cordyceps. If that that's what they represent. That was the representation of it. Like, you will get infected if you breathe in this polluted air, this infected air, because where you're at, you know what I mean? You know, the cordyceps were actually in the game, but they didn't have
power.
It was just infestation. It was like asbestos. That's what it was. And from that, the spores were what was circulating in there.
Backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Your point is you don't know why now all of a sudden they're using the spores.
Yeah, because now you got two different things. Now you got, all right, so, you know, Zach had said, all right, well, now you have the cordyceps, and you have infected who are connected to the wall, to the, you know.
Yeah. So
are the infected people that are hooked to the wall by these cordyceps, do they now serve as an alert to the infected? If they see you, does that now alert the infected or whatever?
That's a valid point.
And if you know, what do the purpose do the spores serve now? Is it the same as you breathe it in, get affected? Cool, great. So now these are two big things, obstacles now. Like how are they going to coexist? Like, it's just.
I don't think it's that I really don't think it's that complicated.
It's not even a complication. It was just like, oh, I thought we were just going to do the cordyceps for the show and leave the spores.
But that wouldn't, that wouldn't make sense for season 2 because of what happens.
Well, how many times, like how...
I don't think that introduction to it, there's anything wrong with it, personally. I think it was introduced well because it was like a case of like, look at what else we're finding out.
And there's the inconsistency. In the subway,
yeah,
in the game,
yeah,
they had gas masks on. There were spores.
Interesting.
So, like, that's what I'm saying. Are y'all going to use a spore? Like, is it not going to be consistent across the board?
Well, I guess it depends. Like, because if this is the thing with the spores, right? So if it is in the air, the spores clearly only thrive maybe in dark spaces.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be everywhere and everyone's infected. Because if it's in the air, then it's everywhere.
Right.
Right? So there has to be some sort of science behind the fact that when it hits sun or when it hits like larger and
good
like
point.
Areas, it
really
dies off. You only see it in confined basements and like dark areas. So it might just be a case of like they just haven't like grown or developed or been put in those areas because there was nothing on the walls like that in the scene of the subway.
And that was the issue.
But like, that's not an issue. That's just the choice that they chose to do. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. Because that scene itself was phenomenal.
Why? But
like, I didn't think they needed another layer of having masks with the spores.
Why didn't you need another layer?
Because there was enough action as it was.
If you go into
because then also
this has been existing for 25 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're saying like the infection, like
yes. Yeah. So since Ellie was a kid, she's understood. She's known about. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why they would go in a subway and not like. Where are the gas masks?
Well, because the spores don't exist there.
Right. So now, with Dina being tagged along, see, and that's inconsistent.
It's just a new direction.
But where are the spores going to exist now? In some rooms, but not others.
They
in
exist.
Some places, not others?
They exist when the stuff on the walls are there, and the growth starts down there.
Not always, baby. Not always.
No, but that might be the direction they're going.
We don't know that.
Well, the consistency of the only time we've seen spores is when that stuff is on the walls. And
Game or TV? Game or TV?
TV.
That's just one scenario. We only seen one scene.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So because they've been in the show, they have been in dark areas that are sealed off.
Yeah.
And the only place the spores have been so far is the basement of the hospital.
Yeah.
Everywhere else it hasn't been. And that's just a creative choice.
The gas masks
think that's
are
crazy.
used a lot.
But that's the thing. I think for the realisticness of like life, gameplay, sure, love that. But you can't just have so much spore action because then...
There wasn't so much spore action. We didn't see spores at all in the first season.
You said there were a lot of masks in the game.
In part 2 of the game, yes.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that for the...
And if you said the cordyceps create the spores...
Yeah.
How that going to work now?
Because they have... What do you mean how they're going to work?
How's that going to work? How is Dina going to be able to survive if she's traveling? Like, how are any of these characters going to be able to survive?
Because they'll know
because they're going to run into... Huh?
They'll know because it will be in like dark basement areas.
Why was it in the subway?
Because there was no quadriceps there growing on the walls yet. And there was... The spores come out of the human turned infected. There was no human turned infected down there that were attached to this quadriceps.
The infected aren't... Okay.
The scene in the basement of the hospital.
Yeah.
You see the breath of spores coming out, implying that the spores are coming from the breath of the infected.
Yes.
That are attached to the quadriceps.
Yes.
Whatever that word is. In the subway, yes, the quadriceps are running through the pipes in the bottom, and that's why they come running because the flame is there and it alerts them that they're there. But there is no infected attached to it, and there's no growth of that on the wall. So it hasn't evolved in that area. Now, if
you know how I know how I know that what you're about to say doesn't hold weight.
Why?
What did homegirl say when the two women were talking? And she said, Leon, she had to lock her son down there.
Yeah, because he couldn't breathe.
She said, how the heck did you get infected? He said, it's in the air.
Yeah.
There was no cordyceps down there.
Where?
In the basement.
What is all that growth? That's not a cordyceps.
That was from, yes, that was from, babe, that was from, they were down there for a long time.
No, I know, but what was all over the walls? Is that not?
That was cordyceps. Before he was turned or before he got infected.
Yeah, he breathed in the air.
Yes, but were the cordyceps present down there?
Yeah.
How do we know that?
Because that's how it grows onto the walls. That's the evolution of the viney stuff. It grows, it gets bigger, it gets bigger.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. What I'm saying is they went down there to do patrol.
Yeah, just to suss out the area.
Right.
Right. And they've never been down there before.
Mm-hmm.
It's an untouched territory.
Yeah.
They were under the understanding that there would be a number of different exits. But they realized that, hey, we can't exit because we are now infected because it's in the air.
Right.
Okay.
So he was infected by the air, not the cordyceps.
Correct.
So
the cordyceps in that room have evolved to these growths. And chances are that's what's created the spores. And then it continues to evolve and produce and like spread, because once they then get a human now infected, they spread it even more and even more intense. I think it's connected.
I'm willing to leave that.
I don't think it's far-fetched.
I want to do a little bit more research on that.
Yeah, that's how I'm interpreting it. Yeah. And I think, yes, okay, in the game, the subway scene, they're wearing masks and the spores are about. But I don't think that was necessary there, because I think how it was introduced with the wolf and how the son got left down there, like that was more emotional of the first like witnessing of spores.
I'm going to tell you why it was important for the spores to be down in that subway.
Why?
Because when Dina and Ellie are running from that horde, they have gas masks on. Dina's breaks.
And she gives her gas mask.
And she says, no, don't do that. And Ellie's like,
take it.
I'm immune.
Take it. That, yeah. And so for you to still get the story across, they had the biting scene.
Yeah. Which was.
So it was still portrayed the same. It was just slightly different.
Yeah.
And that brings me back to the game players of Last of Us need to be more open to the show taking different directions, different paths, and embracing that everyone is entitled to their own interpretation and development of the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a spitting image. It like I think what they're doing is great. While there are some tidbits here and there, I don't think they're failing because they're not following the game completely. It's kind of like the same thing with like Harry Potter. People got mad about how Harry Potter was because it wasn't in line with the books.
I can't speak for Harry Potter.
No, but I'm just saying like that's another example of like when someone is such a cult following.
Yeah,
of
and
book,
we let y'all rock. We let the Harry Potter readers rock.
You weren't a Harry Potter reader fan. They were throwing arms. They were throwing...
Did you read the books?
No, I didn't, but I remember my mom...
See, you just never be understanding.
No,
Mom read the books,
my
right?
mom and older sister, they were throwing arms with how it was
exactly
determined. But
yeah,
what I'm trying to say is that so many people loved it for what it was, so just let it be. Just let it be.
Okay.
Try not to be so critical and embrace the art that's being created, because it is still good, like quality, story. You being so worried about it relating so closely to the game is taking you away from the magic. And I'm in it and being pulled away because you're not satisfied. All that to say, we've been chatting a lot. Season 2, watch it.
Yeah.
As badly as Perris has been talking about it, it's still a great show. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in.
For sure.
Like, comment, subscribe. We want to know your thoughts as well. Obviously, everyone's very opinionated on both sides, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's starting some
causing a
debates.
lot of controversy,
And
right
that's
now.
why I'm worried that people are going to come for me. But it's okay.
Nah,
Thank you for tuning for Thank you for tuning into episode 21.
Yeah.
We will be back with another, not Last of Us related probably.
Yeah,
but I hope you enjoyed it. We just had to let this one go and
for sure
talk it out.
Definitely. All right, y'all.
All right, see you later.
Peace.
Bye.